situation that's going on right now. This girl doesn't have on any clothes. They threw her outside. He was fighting the girl. It sounded like they were fighting over drugs. And they started shooting. But the house needs to be investigated. They're definitely doing illegal stuff over there.
Spence is charged with transmitting a false public alarm. She's scheduled to have her first appearance at noon today. Police put out a public call earlier this week asking for the voice of the woman who made those 911 calls to be identified.
Well, tonight the GBI is labeling the death of Atlanta rapper Young Scoooter as an in-custody death. His real name is Kenneth Edward Bailey, originally from Walterboro, South Carolina.
Y'all, Young Scooter's tragic accident just took a turn for the worse. He didn't just die, he was set up, and now a leaked 911 call is proving it. Demetria Spence, the woman behind the call, didn't sound scared, didn't sound panicked. She knew exactly what she was doing. She called in a fake emergency, making it seem like there was a violent situation, almost like she wanted the cops to pull up ready to shoot. But when Scoooter made a run for it instead, he still ended up dead. And the worst part, she sat back and let the internet blame the police, knowing full well what really went down. But before we even dive deep into this mess, let's set the scene real quick. Young Scoooter, one of Atlanta's most respected rappers, someone who had been grinding in the game since 2008, is gone. And the crazy part, his death wasn't even a shooting, despite what the initial reports were saying. This man bled out from a leg injury after hopping a fence. Sounds like something from Final Destination, right? But hold on, y'all, because why was he even running in the first place? That's where things are starting to get sus, and all roads lead back to Demetria and that fake ass 911 call. So let's rewind to the moment that got this whole situation going. March 28th, Demi Spence picks up the phone and calls 911. And y'all, from the second she starts talking, it's giving, I planned this. She tells the dispatcher there's a woman bleeding profusely, that a baby is involved, and that a black man is beating her up. But here's where it gets real sketchy. She also claimed to hear gunshots, and let's be honest, anytime someone calls the cops and says, black man, gunshots, you already know how the situation is about to go down.
This girl doesn't have on any clothes. They threw her outside. He was fighting the girl. He literally fought the girl. I'm not sure what they was fighting over, if they was fighting over. That's what it sounded like.
Scoooter takes off running and hops a fence, then another, and that's when a tragedy strikes. He gets caught up on some fencing material, suffers a deep cut to his thigh, and bleeds out before he can get help.
Tell you is the only injury mentioned by APD was to Young Scooter's leg. They say he fell after jumping over a couple of fences.
And then just like that, Demi disappears. She doesn't check on him, she doesn't seem shocked, doesn't even act like she had anything to do with what just happened. She just sits back and lets the police spin whatever narrative they want. But here's where things start to really fall apart for her, because when that leaked 911 audio hit the internet, people immediately knew something wasn't right. Social media went into full investigation mode, and let's just say Demi's story ain't adding up. One user put it perfectly: the female is lying. She called out of spite and wanted him locked up. Now he's dead. Just sad. And honestly, that comment alone speaks volumes, because why was she even calling in the first place? She said a woman was bleeding profusely, but there was no injured woman found at the scene. She said a child was involved, but where's the proof? And she even claimed that she had heard gunshots, but police confirmed no one fired a single shot that night. So now people are looking at Demi real sideways, like, what was you really trying to do? And the worst part, the way she was talking in the call, like she didn't even sound panicked. She wasn't crying, she wasn't frantic, she wasn't rushing her words like someone who was actually witnessing something traumatic. No, instead, she sounded calm, almost too calm, like someone who had planned every word she was about to say. And now the streets are talking and they're looking for retribution.
There's a situation going on in this house. There's 7 guys that live here, and they're basically, I'm not sure if they're running some type of this individual. She's a 5'2", light-skinned female, black hair. She ran outside naked, from her face.
See, word in the streets is that Demi and Scoooter had some serious tension before this whole thing went down. Now the details, they're definitely fuzzy, but some people are saying that she had a personal vendetta against him. And let's not forget, she was the one who put his name in the system with that false 911 call. She knew what she was doing. She knew that if she told the cops he was dangerous, they'd pull up deep, probably guns drawn, and Scoooter, he knew what to do. That's why he ran. The internet is even saying that she wanted him taken out. So after getting dragged by the entire internet, Demi finally decided to go live and tell her side. And y'all, It was painfully weak. She starts off by calling everybody trolls and saying people are spreading lies about her without knowing the full story. But no one is buying it because the 911 call is right there for the world to hear. What else do we need to know, girl? She then claims that she was just trying to protect herself, but refuses to say who she was protecting herself from. Like, if you were in danger, wouldn't you be yelling from the rooftop? But no, she's just keeping everything very vague, very dodgy, and acting like she's the real victim here. But at this point, nobody's feeling sorry for the gal. But here's how things get really interesting, because even though Demi is trying to play the victim, some people are saying that she might actually be the one who ends up in legal trouble. Let's talk about the false public alarm charge real quick, because Demi got arrested for it, which means police already know that she was lying. And since her lie directly led to Scoooter running for his life, some people think that she should be hit with an even bigger charge.
When officers located him on the other side of the fence, he appeared to have suffered an injury to his leg. There was no indication of anyone being shot.
But let's be real a second. For a millisecond, if she never made that call, Scoooter would still be alive. And on top of that, there's video evidence of her basically snitching on herself. The internet is saying Scooter's people should lawyer up ASAP because Demi's been following him around, making threats and acting shady for weeks before this even happened. One user even said, "She lying. She got mad she wasn't invited to their party and tried to shut it down on some jealous-ish." And honestly, he might be right. So Wednesday morning, the court decides to grant Demi a $7,500 bond, and let's just say people are not happy about it. But let's be real a second. For a millisecond, $7,500 for a call that led to a man losing his life? That's pennies. People is out here getting higher bonds for simple misdemeanors, but Demi straight up lied on a 911 call, got Scoooter running for his life, and now she can walk free for a couple of $1,000s? The streets are heated because they feel like this is a slap on the wrist, and honestly, they're not wrong. Now, before Demi starts celebrating too early though, she might want to read up on the Georgia state law. Under Georgia law, if serious bodily harm or death results from a false public alarm, the person responsible can face a much more serious charge. Now here's another wild twist though in this little case. Demi doesn't even live at the house where this all went down. According to court documents, she actually lives in Del Cab, more than 20 miles away from the house on William Knight Drive. So now people are asking, what was this girl even doing there in the first place? Was she randomly at the wrong place at the wrong time, or did she pull up knowing what she was about to do? But tell the truth, who drives for 20 miles for no reason? The more details that keep coming out, the worse things look for her. And at this point, the people want the answers. And after the whole situation went down, the streets started buzzing with rumors that the police were responsible for Scooter's death. And people were convinced that the cops had shot him down, and that's why he didn't make it. It got so bad that even the Atlanta Police Department had to step in and make a public statement of their own. They literally had to put out a message saying, "We didn't shoot Scoooter." That's how crazy the rumors got. The police's official statement read, "While we understand that many people are saddened by his passing, it is important to recognize that Atlanta police officers neither discharged their firearms nor used any force against Mr. Bailey." So why did Demi let this go on? Was it just because she felt guilty? Was it because she was scared? Or was she just enjoying the chaos she created? Either way, she let the streets blame the wrong people, all while knowing the truth. Now let's talk about another theory that's been floating around though. A lot of people believe that the jealousy played a role in all this. Because y'all, Scoooter wasn't just a random guy. He had been in the rap game for years. He came up way back in 2008, signed with the Future's Free Bands label, and by 2012, he was already dropping hits. Columbia put him on the map. Then he linked up with Waka Flocka's Brick Squad Monopoly, making even bigger moves. And let's not forget, he worked with Future and Juice WRLD on their 2018 track Jet Lag. Scoooter had built a name for himself. He had respect, connections, and a solid career. So now people are wondering, was Demi just another bitter person in his circle? Either way, something wasn't right about her that night, and now Scoooter is gone. And then there's this other angle that's starting to make a lot of sense. One user put it plain and simple. They was fighting, they put her out, then she called the police. End of story. And let's be real, this isn't that far-fetched. We've seen it happen before. A couple gets into it, somebody gets kicked out. The next thing you know, the cops are getting called out of spite. So what if that's exactly what is happening here? What if Demi got into it with Scoooter, got mad, and decided to hit 911 just to mess up his night? And while she's at it, she's playing the victim card, starts talking about he's hitting her, and turns it into something way bigger than it actually was. Like, let's not ignore the fact that this happens all the time, and if that's the case, then this whole thing is even more disgusting than we thought. But let's keep it a buck, y'all. Not everybody is waiting for the legal system to handle this. You know how the streets are. People in Atlanta are pissed, and someone's saying that Demi needs to be handled a different way. One comment that's been making rounds says she needs to be charged by the streets of Atlanta and prosecuted by the in Zone 6. R.I.P. Jug King. And y'all, street prosecution is a real thing because Atlanta does not play when it comes to their people, especially someone like Scoooter, who's been repping the city and putting on for years. Now, whether anything actually happens, that's another different story, but what we do know is that Demi is not exactly safe right now. She might have bonded out of jail, but she's gonna have to watch her back because the streets are watching. Now, while most people are 100% blaming Demi, there are a few voices saying, what if we're missing something? Because to be fair, you don't just run from the police for no reason. Somebody even pointed out, you only run from the police if you're doing something wrong, just saying. And that's kind of true because Scoooter didn't just walk out the house that night. He ran, jumped fences, tried to escape like he was running from something bigger than just cops showing up for a noise complaint. So now the question is, was there more to this story? Could it be that Scoooter was involved in something that night that we just don't know about yet? Some are even saying, y'all acting like that man was innocent just because he was a rapper. Now listen, I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but there's something to think about when that's said. What if Demi really was in a bad situation? What if she felt like calling the cops was the only way to get out of it? Maybe she was experiencing DV and instead of just leaving, she panicked and made a bad decision that spiraled out of control. But at the end of the day gonna end. And it's a tragedy no matter how you look at it. But what happens now? Right now, Demi's out on bond, but that doesn't mean that she's a free and clear. She still has a long legal battle ahead of her. And if the court decides to hit her with a heavier charge, it could get real ugly or real fast. And let's not forget, young Scooter's family and the fans are not letting it go. They want justice. And if the prosecutors don't bring the heat, the streets or the internet definitely will. The story is far from over, y'all. Stay tuned by smashing that like and that subscribe button. Also, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below so we can keep the conversation going. R.I.P. Scoooter.